That government is best which governs least. There's so much truth in that. Um, of course, the most logical conclusion after that statement is no government at all is the best. But, yeah, there's a couple reasons for this, I think. And basically, there's been a lot of talk about the Ten Commandments and negative law and positive law, and the idea of freedom versus, tyranny. So I want to go over the idea of negative law. Negative law is basically the law of liberty. Do not murder, do not steal, and there, a few other things, but basically it's the negative law is the law of things you are not to do. So basically it just promotes freedom, because as long as you don't do these things, then you're good. You're free to be who you are. Positive law, like true positive law, is the idea that you have to do these things in order to be okay. Like, for example, if you're going down the street and you see a stop sign, then you must stop. You have to stop, and then you're okay. Rather than you do not murder. You must stop. It's two different things. So obviously, the idea of positive law is that you can create laws forever, and that breeds tyranny. In a libertarian fashion, there really are only two laws. Maybe lying. That's kind of shaky in a way, but basically, do not murder, do not steal, and basically murder is still stealing, because you're stealing a man's body or a woman's body. And that life, you're stealing the life of the person. So, do not steal. In the end, I think that's the only valid law ever. Do not steal. Murder is theft, actually, in my opinion. And many libertarians will agree with me on that. So, that's it. Basically, negative law, in the end, the idea comes about through common law, the common law of England, and some other one place, I guess, and it was passed to the United States. The United States has been using common law basically since the beginning of the Federation. So, positive law comes from the Congress. Negative law, the common law, is always there. It is stable, and the law is passed through the precedents of previous judges, previous cases. Positive law, it just is bent on what the current flavor of the day is, whatever Congress has in effect. But the problem is, with positive law, you never know if you're breaking a law or not. If I were to go down the street and drive down the street, and if I were to go 31 miles an hour, sometimes you don't know if you're going over the limit or not. You're gonna miss a speed limit sign once in a while. You're just gonna do it. You're going to miss a stop sign. You're going to go through a red light. Um, but the problem is, it's all subjective instead of objective. Objectivity comes into play when you injure somebody. Either you injured somebody or not. It's pretty simple. Either you steal or you don't. But when it comes to subjective law, like you can't drink until you're 21, or you can't get Social Security payments until you're 62 or 65 or whatever. Totally subjective stuff. And this is positive law, and it's tyranny. Because the more you pass laws, the more you don't know if you're breaking the law or not, and eventually a police officer is going to come up to you and say, hey, you're breaking a law. Oh, I didn't know. But it's your job to know. But, it's stupid. It's crazy. It's insane. The idea of having a state this big, the federal government this big, the state government this big, the local governments sometimes are a little bit excessive. Take a look at New York City. It's ridiculous. So positive law is instituted upon the idea of the civil law of the Roman Republic. And common law, civil law was passed on to England, and there was a lot of hype over there. There was a lot of problems. The king passed the idea of Magna Carta, and before that there was some other idea of common law. That was in France, I think. I might be mixing my history up here, but it's not important. The idea is that we have two different law systems in this country: civil law and common law. And we also have a third type of law, and that's called admiralty law. And that's basically just the the UCC, the company law, you know what I mean, corporate code. But that's universal. It's instituted throughout the world. And admiralty law is, it's inside the Constitution. It's allowed here. It's just that, it's meant for corporations importing and exporting. But, so we have really three different things going on in the United States. That's why there's probably so much confusion and so much chaos. Why there's so many people on the streets. In the end, after all of this stuff takes effect, people don't know what they're doing anymore. The economy goes berserk. This is why prices are ridiculous right now. People are on the streets because nobody respects property rights. The government is meant to protect property rights, not exchange it throughout the economy just to be nice to everybody. It would never happen under just pure common law. Never happen. We need to get rid of the civil law idea. This is why I advocate it. We need to get rid of Congress, period. We need to get rid of the president to some extent. I would get rid of the president. I would get rid of Congress. The only legitimate function of a government, if we were to have one in the first place, is to just arbitrate. So the court system is probably, in my opinion, the only legitimate function of a government. Just to arbitrate dispute between injury and theft. Murder is just another word for stealing a life. So, murder is theft. Uh, so arbitration on theft and injury. That's it. That's the only legitimate function of a court system, of a government. That's what they're supposed to do. Governments are supposed to protect liberty. They're supposed to protect our freedom. And this perversion of liberty in the statist mindset is what got us into this chaos that we have. We have war. War would be the only thing that would happen. The war would only happen under governments. Of course, there's always human dispute, but that's the point of a government. You have, you would never have a society that steals from one sector of the economy to give to the other sector. Of course, there's only one group of people in the whole world, and that's called people. There aren't classes of society. It's like saying, black versus white, rich versus poor. No, there is no such thing. It took us 200 years to become colorblind in this country, and we're still not. And I'm talking about racism. It took us 200 years to get over that. Now liberate us from this evil class society idea. Get over it. The only enemy in this country is the government. Thomas Jefferson even knew this. Yes, he had slaves. Everybody says, oh yeah, he had slaves too. Yes, he did. It was a different time period. Nobody understood it. But guess what? People get it. People understand racism is wrong. Now let's understand that class warfare is also wrong. Get over it. The middle class will not survive if this keeps up. So no, we are not safe with positive law. We're indeed creating a tyranny. Giving up essential liberty for a little bit of temporary security, you deserve neither, and you will lose both. Ben Franklin had it absolutely correct. And once you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, you get it. Anyway, I really needed to talk about this. This is what's causing the chaos right now. This is what's causing price inflation. This is causing a warfare between the middle class, the poor, and the upper class. Of course, in my opinion, in the end, there is no class. You are in a real capitalist society. You're able to create your own life. Even if you had like $500 right now, you could start a business. Just do it. What's stopping you? Create a really, really small business. There's no reason to start with $50,000 or $100,000. Create your own life. Let's go. Get out of this mentality that you're stuck. There's no reason for this. And positive law only makes it worse. So once we understand what negative law is, the things you can't do, nothing else will stop you.